Hello everybody, welcome back to another video on the channel of Dave and Dave. Today I'm going to be talking about the Boeing 737 MAX 8 aircraft update, and we're talking about the recertification process, and I'm also going to be talking about this very horrific 2 crashes it's had in the past year. And I'm going to give you my view on the situation. So to start off with, I'd like to talk about the crashes. They were very bad crashes, and I do feel very sorry for everyone involved, including the families and the people who died on board this aircraft. It was a very tragic event. Boeing have made a very silly mistake in making sure the aircraft flies well before it should do. And the 737 MAX should have been kept for longer before it could fly because MCAS is very new. It's the Maneuvering Characteristics Augmentation System. That's what it stands for. Now, because it's been very faulty, that's what caused the aircraft to crash, in my opinion. So the plane itself wasn't ready to fly, we know that. However, when the plane was taken off, MCAS only had one alpha vane installed, and this was on Ethiopian Airlines flight and the other Lion Air flight. And because it had the faulty indicator, the pilots couldn't get out of the situation, and the only way they could do that was by turning back, and they were trying their absolute best. This wasn't the pilot's fault. Boeing, very stupidly, put the Boeing 737 MAX on the same type rating as the Boeing 737-800. That's a very bad decision, because don't forget that they both fly in a different manner. Now, in order to make sure they both fly in the same manner, they installed the system called MCAS, which is why I was leading in the first place. Now, because MCAS was installed, this meant this is a very new technology, very new, and what it did was it was basically designed to make the plane obviously feel the same as the Boeing 737-800. And when the plane took off, the speed indicator was given MCAS the incorrect speed, and also the incorrect altitude was from the altitude indicator. Now, what this meant was that the speed, in order for MCAS to kind of balance out the plane and make sure the speed gets up again, they would make the plane dive for 10 seconds. The problem was that MCAS was way too sensitive, and the plane dived dramatically within those 10 seconds. So for the whole flight, the plane was diving, just kept on diving until it crashed, and it was a very sad situation to be in. Now, because the plane kept on diving, MCAS kept on kicking in, there was pretty much nothing you could really do in this situation, and it was very hard in order to disengage the MCAS. And obviously, because MCAS was too sensitive, that's what caused the plane to crash. And there's loads of factors to what caused it to crash, but it's mainly it's obviously about the 737 MAX. So we know the crash has been a very bad thing. But now I'm going to be talking about the recertification process. This is the good news, because the recertification process has been going phenomenal recently. Boeing had been doing everything correct. The reason why in the news you've been hearing loads of things about Boeing, the aircraft is unstable to fly, so it's gotten so many issues. What the news don't actually realise is that the FAA are literally checking everything about the plane before it gets recertified. This is a very normal process. It can happen whenever a plane's grounded, and it has to check everything to make sure it's all perfect. Obviously, not everything's going to be perfect, and because not everything's not perfect, they will need to be fixed. You can't blame Boeing for this, because Boeing have actually been fixing this reasonably well. They have, they still have some issues with the some of the software glitches, but our point is that these issues are being fixed. Once these issues have been fixed, the aircraft are not facing any more issues, and obviously, even though these issues are at hand, at least the plane is not flying. Now, before the Boeing 737 MAX is recertified, the pilots for the airlines that purchased the 737 MAX, the pilots for those airlines that are applying for the 737 MAX job are going to have to be doing some simulator training. The simulator training is very important, because the simulator training basically determines if a pilot is willing to fly this aircraft or not. And the good news is that the airline pilots, ever since the crash has happened, they've been saying that this aircraft is fantastic to fly. It's definitely improved, and they really enjoyed the experience, and there's not been many issues for them. This is very good news, because obviously the pilots are the ones flying. If they're confident that it's safe, then that must be a good factor to make sure we know that Boeing have made good progress on this. And that's been done, and because that's already been done now, there's a couple more steps in place in order for this plane to fly again. Now obviously they're still checking everything, and Boeing are making the correct decisions in order to make sure everything works correctly. Once that is done, there'll be a test flight, and then after the test flight, then there'll be a decision whether to fly this aircraft again. And you also got to understand, guys, that even though Boeing have made a massive mistake, I do feel like Boeing will recover from this. This is my opinion. I am not paid by Boeing or Airbus or any operator out there. I am not paid by anyone. This is my opinion only. My opinion is that at the moment, the public do not like the Max. However, in the future, I do believe that the public will probably potentially forget, or they would forgive Boeing. And because they'll forgive Boeing, this means that they'll be having their trust in Boeing again. However, in the short term, I feel like it'll be a little bit of a risky decision for airlines to fly the Max, because I do feel like the customers will want to go on the plane that's not the Max, as all the stories you've been hearing recently. And obviously the Max still has work to be done, but the process has been good so far, and I do feel like Boeing are going to have a lot of issues as well once the aircraft is recertified. The airlines might have a couple of issues in getting passengers to actually fly on the Max, which is not a good thing. But in the long run, I think that passengers might forgive Boeing. And obviously, these crashes have been awful in the past year, and I completely understand why Boeing have been incredibly stupid in flying this aircraft before it was meant to, because it wasn't ready to fly yet. However, now these improvements have been made and it's almost recertified, and I feel like the aircraft will be one of the safest aircraft. The other good news about the Max is that it's 20% more fuel efficient, which will mean that airlines can start saving money on fuel, and the environment as well would be better, because obviously not as much fuel is going to be up there, and it will be a lot better for the environment for these aircraft if these aircraft flew instead of the 737-800. And you've also got higher seat capacity, so you can have more. You can actually have more passengers in the 737 Max than compared to the 737-800. So yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you have, please hit the like button. If you haven't, you're more than welcome to dislike the video. No worries there. However, I'd like to know what I can do to improve in the future. So overall, as a quick summary, Boeing released the aircraft out too early. However, I do feel like now the recertification process has been a good one for Boeing, and I do feel like Boeing have become a lot more trusted in this situation. So far, Boeing have lost about $10 billion in this, so they wouldn't think about doing anything like this again, because they do not want to lose the amount of money as well. They don't want to lose that much money again. If it happens again, I do feel like there will be a major problem. Thank you all very much for watching, guys. I will see you in the next one, and have a lovely rest of your day. Bye, guys. Peace.